Welcome back to another episode of the Experts in Fire podcast. I'm your host, Mike Vennard, and with me today is Randy Mowry. Today's episode is Firewood Selection and Storage. Let's get into it. Hey Randy, how you doing, man?
Mike, considering the calendar tells me it's spring, but when I look out the window, there is snow falling from the skies. But I'm still doing good.
You know, the only positive I am drawing from this is I'm drinking hot coffee right now. That's it. That's all I got. Man, I agree, dude. I agree. However, it is spring break, so for everybody who's jumping off on a plane and getting out of here, and enjoy, have fun. And then for those who are pros, I think, Randy, you were talking about some of the pros you had into the new showroom there that were talking about having to put on their snow plows and
putting the plows back on, the salt buckets back on the beds of the trucks. Yeah, some of them weren't too pleased.
See, that to me, I can put up with it. I'm just a guy, you know. But they're actually having to go out and work this stuff. So, but you know what? It's where we live. It's what we love, and we're just gonna ride this right here because spring is one of my favorite times here in Michigan. And if you haven't spent some time in the beautiful state of Michigan, you need to come up. I know I sound like a Michigan commercial on these shows, but you need to come up. But today, what we're going to talk about is what Michigan does have a lot of, and that's firewood.
That we do.
Got about 15 acres of firewood sitting right behind me.
I'm just going to say, look in your backyard.
And what's sad is it's called firewood, but really what it means is it's a downed tree that I need to get out of the way. Which means work. But it is, you know what, it is the best time of year when, and I know my nephew cuts a ton of firewood. It's the best time of year in the spring before it gets soggy. So you have to do it. And I say spring, late winter, very early spring, before everything gets wet. The ground is still hard from the cold. The trees haven't popped yet. The leaves haven't popped. And you can get out there and not get... It's funny because you'll hit a certain point, Randy, where you'll get attacked by nature, meaning all the vines that are growing and all the new growth and the brush and all of the things, and then the mosquitoes and all of that stuff. So if you're cutting firewood, we might even be a little past time when this comes out, but it's still a good time before the full summer, late spring, summer pops. So let's talk about firewood. And let's just, I mean, there's some simple concepts, but most people don't truly understand them. So first place to start, what's the best firewood to have, Randy?
Yeah, so typically, for your wood-burning stoves, your indoor, fireplaces, you want to stick with, hardwoods, oak, maple, ash, birch. You want to stick with those hardwoods for your appliances.
We're going to talk through why hardwoods here in a second, but there's a lot of folks who they'll see a big pine tree and they think, whoa, firewood. Folks, you're only using pine out in your fire pit. That's where pine goes.
Throw your Christmas tree in that fire pit and just watch what happens within seconds.
Let's talk about some of the advantages to hardwoods, though, and then we can talk to why not the softwoods.
Why not, right? Yeah, I mean, just think of like a hardwood. The high energy content of hardwoods have a high energy content compared to like a softwood, which means the hardwood's going to produce more heat when it's burned. The hardwoods are going to provide you a longer burn time. So what happens is because it burns slower and longer than softwoods. So that hardwood's going to provide you a steady heat source and requiring less logs going in, reloading that wood stove less frequently than like a softwood would, Mike.
Yeah, you hear the term high energy content and you go, what is it, the Tasmanian devil? What do we got going on here, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it ultimately, when you think about stocking a wood stove or even a fireplace, the more energy you're getting out of that burn, the longer it's going to last. It's going to produce more heat. It's going to generate more heat in one log versus wood that doesn't have that high energy content.
Exactly. Because that's where I use the verbiage of high energy, and it's just because it's building up more heat in that hardwood, which is giving you that longer burn time because it's just slowing that process down. Where we use that Christmas tree analogy, you throw a Christmas tree in there, and that thing's gonna burn instantly in seconds. That thing is gonna be roast. You might be getting some heat off it, but it's literally gonna be instant, quick, and then it's over. Versus a hardwood.
Right, which, I mean, leads right into the next point, which is a longer burn time, right?
Yes. And with the longer burn time, it's important because, especially for folks that are using wood stoves, you want that hardwood because you want to be able to sleep at night without having to really worry about having to load that thing every couple of hours. And with our manufacturers making these wood stoves as energy efficient as possible, you want to be able to use that hardwood, with as less moisture as possible so that you can extend that burn time as long as possible so that you're not getting up in those PJs when it's 30 below zero outside and having to load that wood stove any longer than you have to. We want to be able to enjoy those fires longer and for as long as possible.
You have fire-related questions and we have answers. You can email us your questions at podcast@woodlanddirect.com or give us a call at 833-584-1989. We would love to be able to answer them right here on the Experts in Fire podcast.
When we talk about like the hardwoods are going to have, of course, think of sap. We've kind of already talked a little bit about it. It's going to have the lowest possible resin. So, think of a pine tree. You're full of sap. That's just not something that you want to have in there like those softwoods have, because that is just going to produce more buildup in your fireplace, where the hardwoods are going to produce a lot less creosote buildup. So it reduces the risk of your, any kind of chimney fire, whether it's a wood-burning fireplace or your wood stove.
Yeah, resin's the key. That's a part of what we were talking about, right? The softer woods have way more resin in them.
Yeah.
That's sap is what we call them. We even sell a product called fat wood. It's a fire starter. There's so much resin in it. Which, by the way, my nieces and nephews think I'm a fire god because it can be raining and I will start a fire in the fire pit using fat wood, right? And they're like, "Oh my gosh, Uncle Mike, how do you do that?" And I'm like, "It's magic." Yeah, so the resin can be dangerous. It is dangerous because of the creosote buildup and what can go up your chimney, whether it's a wood stove or if it's just a wood-burning fireplace. The more resin you put into the situation, the gummier everything's going to get, which means you're going to need to clean it more often.
Exactly. It's just, the hardwoods it's just cleaner burning. So, typically burning much cleaner. You have less smoke, fewer emissions going out of the top of your chimney compared to the softwoods. The harder it is, the cleaner it is, results in a more efficient and also obviously an environmentally friendly wood burning experience overall.
We've kind of given some points on why hardwoods. Let's talk about wood storage, because this is an important piece. There's so many folks out there who have different ideas, and I get it. I accept. But I know there is a kind of a standard practice that other people have put into place, but it's what we talk to our customers about and our clients. What is the best way to store wood?
Yeah, no, and it's a good question. It's a pretty common question. We sell a lot of different, wood racks, of course. You can make your own. These are just some bullet points on like the preferred method of storing and stacking and choosing the best location. We talk about it in various products, choosing the right location for said product. And it's the same thing for storing your wood. You want it to be a, well-ventilated area, typically away from the home to prevent insects and rodents infesting the wood pile, which in turn, when sometimes if you think about it, where people have it slammed up against the house and it's wood, it's cut wood. And if anybody's ever walked a trail in the forest and things like that, Mike, and
right,
there's bugs and insects everywhere, so the last thing, you don't want that up against your house. You don't want that, but obviously all the way around the country, you want to elevate that wood. You want to make sure that wood is, raised up on a platform or some kind of pallet, just keeping it off the ground. And it helps prevent moisture from absorbing into those and, It also allows you from airflow to help aid in seasoning that wood. Seasoning, helping it dry it out. When we say seasoning, helping to get that moisture content of that wood down, as quick and it as much as you can.
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys, that when it comes to storing the wood, you're not just storing it. Like, okay, I'm going to use this later. There's actually a purpose behind it, because I need to get the moisture level to the right place so that it will burn properly. And it's the difference between, if you've ever been, out in the woods and needed to start a fire, you don't just walk up to any tree and rip a branch off of it and start a fire with it. You're looking for those dead branches that are laying on the ground, that have fallen from a tree, something of that nature, because they're dry. That's the key, man. You're looking for dry wood.
Exactly.
So, I mean, Randy, they make ways, because I think I only have a cord of wood sitting out here right now. They make tools so that I can test the moisture in my wood, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, they have moisture meters. We have them on our site as well. I mean, because ideally with the moisture meter, you want to, be in that 20 percentile on your moisture meter for when it comes dry. Then again, the less moisture, the drier it is, like you said, the cleaner it's going to burn. The more moisture that it is, the harder it's going to get to start. It's going to build up more creosote in your chimneys, whether it's going to smoke more. So the more moisture that's in that, the more resin that's in it, we're just going to say the worse it's going to burn. It's not going to burn very friendly at all.
And it's irritating, man.
Right.
Yeah, using wet wood is irritating. So, I mean, that's what we're trying to do when we're talking about, once you understand your hardwoods and that's what you're getting, then you need to have a system in place in order to store your wood. And when you're storing it, you're seasoning your wood, right? And that's not, Sam, that's not salt and pepper. Our producer asks, is that like you're seasoning it with salt and pepper?
No.
No, not salt and pepper.
Well, and that's why a number of folks, I think yourself included, you have multiple stacks of wood for rotation, where you're constantly rotating your wood. I know a number of folks that'll do that. They'll have multiple places where they're storing their wood, and it's all about rotating. They're bringing in their fresh cut wood. They know that this is getting there. This is this one. This is the truly seasoned one that we're pulling from. On a frequent basis, it just also, when you're storing wood, it's about stacking it as well. There's a bit of a method to stacking it, typically in some type of single row or crisscross pattern, and that's what you're doing by doing that is it's allowing for maximum airflow between the logs, and this will help out dry those logs evenly, help prevent mold and mildew growing on those logs, Mike, as I know because you have plenty of stacks of firewood.
Yeah, it's it almost sounds like a manly thing, doesn't it? I have stacks of firewood. Yes. You know how manly I am? I bought those stacks of firewood. I'll tell you why, though, Randy, because I knew my rotation. I needed firewood because this is a new house, right? I needed firewood, and I'm looking in the back, and I'm going, okay, I can get the chainsaws rip roaring, and I don't have a splitter myself because my buddy has one, and he always tells me, if you buy a splitter, I will smack you. Right? Because it's one of those tools that you put the money out for, and then it sits for how long? And then you maybe use it for 2 weekends or something of that nature, right? So he's like, please use my splitter.
Right.
But I'm looking at it going, boy, by the time I cut all that wood, split it, stack it, it's going to be at least a year before I've dried it to the right point. So I started with already seasoned wood that I bought. And there are so many, I'm out here in the country, man. There are so many young men who are out there hustling, seasoning wood just for folks like me who are like, yeah, I don't want to cut wood. So yeah, but now I'm in a rotation. So I can go in the back here and I can start cutting wood and pulling it forward, and my sons help me with this stuff. And I have different inexpensive, I'll say, log racks that I can dry wood on. And then I have a really nice rack that's closer to the house. But like you said, not up against the house. because I made that mistake before, and I had the wood right there, and oh my gosh, not just bugs, critters, man.
Oh, absolutely. I've done the same thing. I just not thinking because, honestly, that's what I was told to do. And until I learned not to do that the hard way.
It made sense so I could come out the door and grab wood and bring it in. You put it right there. And then the husky is trying to knock the wood pile over to get to, I don't know, a possum or a coon or whatever. So you learn these lessons over time. It's important to understand that you're doing more than just stacking it so you can get access to it. You're trying to actually accomplish something with the wood. And I want to point out the next one you have on here, Randy, and that is cover the top.
We get it all the time as far as because we have a number of our rocks that will come with what they call an airflow cover. Covers maybe the first couple feet of wood, then we have full covers. But yeah, covers are still important because you want to use some type of waterproof tarp. We're in Michigan, so we want to keep like the snow and things like that off of it. But also having that cover, it protects the wood from the rain and the snow, of course. But you also want to be able to, you don't want to go all the way to the ground where you're not allowing any kind of airspace to be able to travel up and still be able to dry that wood out. But you do want waterproof. And ideally, a nice cover that will, everybody uses the tarps. Tarps are fine a lot of times. But if you can get a cover that maybe opens on one side, has some free areas for airflow, because that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep that airflow going through that wood pile.
So depending on where you're at in the country, we sell some nice wood racks. Like I mentioned earlier, I bought one and it has a cover and it actually floats. It's a floating cover, so the front will open up. I pull wood off of it, and as I pull wood off, it slides down the post, so it makes sure to keep the top dry. And that's the important part, is you're trying to keep snow from sitting on there, and just kind of, remember, we're trying to dry the wood, not leave snow sit on it and leave moisture in it, right? There are parts of the country, though, where the snow is so deep that people need full covers, and they want to cover the whole thing. And that's important. Know your area, know where you're at. But ultimately, if you cover it with a tarp fully, then as that moisture is trying to come out of the log, all it's doing is hitting the tarp, and you're turning it into a rainforest inside because that moisture is drawing out of the wood. So that's why we say cover the top, let the moisture come out, the air blow through it. Most people don't even know there's this much science to firewood, right? Just stack it up out there.
Exactly. Just pack it and stack it and leave it, But yeah, but with the covers, the big thing is just leaving enough space around that wood pile so that it can constantly have some kind of airflow to evaporate any kind of that moisture from our from that weather outside, just so it prevents it from building up inside of there. Airflow is your friend. Airflow is your friend. Get enough airflow, it'll seize in. Just making sure that it's stacked, stored and stacked, and you'll be ready to use that next season when you're ready.
You sure will. And I tell you what, I know I made a comment about folks saying, just stack it up. Now, there are people out there, Randy, who have been doing this for years and could run circles around you and me. They understand the concept of dry. It needs to be dry, right? You can't put wet wood in a fire. So everybody has their way of doing it. This is just the suggestions that we have for folks because, we do it. We've been doing it. If you're out there and you're going, man, I have a client who bought a wood stove and I did the install, you're going to be talking to them about firewood, right? And one of the things, I drive through areas where there are folks who have those fancy machines that you just set the whole log on. The chainsaw arm cuts it to length and then it pushes it through the splitter and it's just dropping wood out. You can always buy firewood, but even when you buy it, if you don't store it right, it's going to get wet and gross or it's going to deteriorate and you're going to lose that wood. So don't waste your investment. And then if you go out and cut your own wood, don't waste your physical investment. Take it from me, I've done it so long, it's like, don't waste your physical investment and turn it into campfire wood, because that's what we do with it.
Goes out to the fire pit.
Yep, for sure. So, folks, again, we really appreciate you listening. And, Randy, I really appreciate you doing what you do with me, man. This is always fun. We have a great time. you are in a new role as well with the new showroom. And I know I talk with you often. How are things going down there?
Things are going well. The showroom looks amazing. Been very well received from designers and contractors alike. It's an appointment-only showroom. It's at an open to the public showroom, and so what we've been doing is setting appointments with some of our local Michigan contractors and their designers that they work with. Have even had a couple of contractors send their homeowners in to kind of put eyes on how something's going to look fully. So it's been great. It has been fantastic, and it's nice when you have stuff down there, especially when we have out front. We have our fire pits going, so it's been great.
Awesome. Well, man, thank you so much for doing what you do. And thank you for wanting to share your knowledge with the pros in our local area. So Randy has moved from being one of our national reps to representing the Southeast Michigan. And knowing Randy, he'll go anywhere in Michigan. Number one, because he loves the state. But number two, because that's just his heart. So if you do live here in Michigan and you need something, or you want to set an appointment to come out to the showroom, please give us a call and we'll make sure that you can get that set up and come out. Also, if you have clients you want to bring with you, absolutely, we sit with those clients for you and with you and kind of walk through the best case scenario. The thing that we've learned over time is to ask the right questions, and the very first question is always, tell me a little about your project. Because without knowledge of what you're trying to accomplish, everything is just stuff. But honing in on that perfect piece. So thank you for listening, and reach out to us any way you can. On the podcast, we explain how you can get a hold of us. And Sam is going to really doctor this up to make it sound pretty, because I feel like I'm mumbling now. So I'm all done. When I start to mumble, I get all done.